What is a spirit guide? Is it like a guardian angel? And does everybody have one? We're going to talk about that today on Earth Awakens. Hi, I'm Chris, and thanks for stopping by Earth Awakens. You may have heard the term spirit guide in metaphysical circles, or maybe this is the first time you're hearing the term. First of all, there is an afterlife. There is a spirit world. Our souls exist before and after we incarnate. There'll be some other videos linked and some videos on the channel if you want to explore those ideas. The rest of this video is going to be with that context of framework. So we do have an afterlife. Our spirit is, I wouldn't say immortal, but definitely goes beyond the 3D realm when we're in these bodies on Earth and whatever other planets there are. We get assigned a spirit guide. There are typically two levels of guides. People like Dr. Michael Newton, Dolores Cannon, and Brian Weiss have done a lot of work using regression therapy and doing past life regressions and life between life regressions. And they've done many thousands of these sessions with patients. And one of the recurring themes are that everybody has a spirit guide. And not only do they have a spirit guide, they usually also have what they call a senior guide. This is the terminology many people use in their hypnosis state. It's not an idea that was necessarily planted by the hypnotist. This is what they refer to as a spirit guide. Some people think about the idea of a guardian angel. I think spirit guide kind of falls into that idea. We're talking about a divine spirit as we are in our spirit form, but not necessarily an angel of God in the most strict Christian and Catholic senses or Western religious senses. They're not flying around with wings. They are beings of light, as are we in our spirit form. If someone were to see them, especially with human eyes or maybe in trance, they might think of them as an angel. I can see why someone might say that. The earlier peoples of the world might have come up with that idea that they were angels. They're definitely divine beings. They definitely are not mortals. The reason they're our guides is because they are at a higher level of evolving. A regular level guide may still be incarnating. I have read several cases where that was the case. Sometimes they'll even incarnate with one of the people they're acting as a guide for. I think that's fairly rare, but there may be a reason they might do that to play a certain role in somebody's lifetime, maybe even a temporary role, someone who's just passing through someone's life and then doing their own thing. But what role do guides serve? When we are in the spirit realm, we will be planning our next lifetime. We'll be considering what goals we want to have, what type of life we want to have, what type of experiences are we looking to have in order to evolve ourselves. That is always the goal, to grow and evolve. Our guides will help us with that along with our senior guide and usually our council. You can think of the council as guides, but much more evolved, much more elevated. A lot of people call them ascended ones or ascended beings. They're light years ahead of the rest of us. It's unclear whether they are the same as us or a more evolved form. All of the information we get is through regression hypnotherapies. The information can be spotty and limited. For example, someone may be interacting with a guide while under hypnosis and asking questions of their guide. That's something that Dolores Cannon came across a lot. One of the keys to her techniques was to have those types of interactions. They don't want to necessarily share information that could be detrimental to humankind if we knew it. For example, the future might be detrimental to the subject who is in trance, who is relaying this information. For example, if there's something about their lifetime that the guide and they might be relying on what Michael Newton called their amnesia, the veil, if you will, the veil that separates us from our past memories, past lifetimes, and from our oversoul. They might be relying on that and therefore won't divulge a piece of information that might be having to do with their future, the rest of that lifetime that they're in now. At the same time, They do tend to share quite a bit about past lives. If a hypnotist or a therapist are good enough to get somebody into that deep trance, as Dolores Cannon taught and did herself, they can have live conversations and elicit all kinds of information. She had many books, fascinating reads. I would definitely recommend going through those. In addition to Michael Newton's books, they all talk about guides. They all talk about this being that is assigned to us. It seems like they stay assigned to us for a very long time. Time is relative, right? So for many lifetimes that we may have here on Earth, they will be our guide. I've not heard of too many cases where guides have changed because they also have a senior guide. As the soul evolves, it's assumed that their guide is also evolving and working with that senior guide. Perhaps that guide will be moving toward becoming a senior guide themselves. I would assume that is the evolution that will take place. Can guides interfere with our lives? Can a guardian angel save us? The answer is yes, to some degree. Guides' jobs are not to save us from ourselves. We always have free will, and a guide may attempt to intervene in some small way. For example, they may send you a sign in a dream. If you're supposed to meet and marry somebody you've agreed to, and maybe they're a soulmate from your soul group, that you may have even agreed with your guide that will send you a sign, or there'll be some kind of sign that will trigger your subconscious so that you head to the right place, do the right thing. Michael Newton has a fascinating story about how he met his wife. That's in his first book, Journey of Souls. Can try to steer us like wind in the sails. They can steer you, but you have to make the decisions. They can't make decisions for you. There are documented occurrences where somebody has a dream or a premonition that they shouldn't get on the plane. The plane crashes and they survive. That may be a guide or another spirit reaching out to them to steer their life to some other direction. It may be that some of those people, that was always going to be their destiny to get on that plane. Or maybe destiny is not the right word, but that was always one of the main options. You have to remember when we're talking about life planning and life happening, they're all possibilities, they're all probabilities of things happening. You may have this grand plan of becoming a doctor, marrying this woman or man, and having 5 kids, but you have to make all that happen still. You have to make those decisions. You have to do the decisions that keep you on that path. And yes, your guides can try to steer you because you've arranged this with them. That's part of life planning. Once you talk to your guide and figure out what sort of life you're going to have, you're usually taken to, some people call it the circle, some the sphere, the life room, the room of choices, where there are souls who present you with 3 options. People have reported different ways to do this. Some see it in what they think of as a book, and the book becomes alive, almost like a hologram. Some talk about a control room where there are 3 options, snippets from that life that they may choose. And again, all probabilities that they know via probabilities. Time doesn't exist in the spirit world. Time here exists, but it doesn't exist relative to the spirit world. If you're a spirit, you can pick and choose a snippet. But because they haven't happened yet here, those are all probabilities. You have to become the life and make those choices for that to happen. We don't know from our limited knowledge whether there are multiple multiverses where everything happens. That's possibly true, but it hurts my brain to think about it. Think about it as you're viewing a probability. You're shown 3 lifetimes. The child, what type of family, where they might be, what life are they going to start out as. They're not going to show you everything because you have to live the life. You have to make the choices. If you go into this person, you're going to be a very outgoing person. Your family is rich. Maybe that does or doesn't meet the needs of what you're trying to learn and grow for yourself. Maybe this family is very poor and they're in another part of the world, and that is a completely different type of life. They're a minority in their country, so they're persecuted by the majority, and so that's a different type of life. Maybe one of these is homosexual, the other is heterosexual. All those different factors will play in. It's my understanding that it's predetermined things like sexual preference. That is also one of the things that fascinates me about astrology. If you needed to have a set of parameters to say what somebody is going to be like in general, not every detail, but in general, are they a detail oriented person? Are they a flighty person? Do they have multiple personalities? Not literally. Are there multiple facets to their personality? Astrology, in my mind, and this is what the ancient Hindu texts say, is basically that framework that allows you to say, okay, if I'm going to pick this lifetime, it's going to be born here, then on Earth at a certain time. And in general, that means the vessel will be there, whether you choose that one or somebody else chooses it. And it will have this general set of characteristics. That's before you join the body. I know this gets deep, and there's probably a lot more videos that can be gone into here. But let's just say for now and keep it general that I always have to think of it as a video game if you've played role-playing games. This one's an elf, this one's a dwarf, this one is an orc. They have different preset characteristics, but you become that person or whatever it is on any planet. Your personality as a soul gets imbued into that, and you mesh with that being. You become something different than you by yourself and them by themselves. That's why it's important to figure out what type of lifetime you want to have, what goals, what major occurrences, who might be your soulmate or soulmates. You may come across more than one in your lifetime. Once you figure out which life you want, you will again regroup with your guide, figure out what big events might be that you want to try to happen, what you want to accomplish. And that can be anything. It doesn't have to be an accomplishment per se. It could be living a life of good, being in a position of power and seeing how you deal with that. Do you use your power over people, or do you use it wisely and kindly? It could be you're in no position of power, or it could be that in this lifetime you are going to have an accident and be crippled for the rest of your life and be dependent on other people to take care of you. There's a really good example in one of Michael Newton's books where the subject fell out of a carriage. This was back in the Old West. The carriage ran over their legs, so they couldn't walk anymore. That was almost a death sentence unless your family took care of you. The reason that happened and they chose that life was because they had been so independent in their previous lifetimes. They had not learned to interact and depend on other people. So they wanted to learn that aspect. You're always trying to grow and become more evolved, get all of those facets. If you think about what an ascended being must be, they understand all facets of all beings, perhaps, not just earthly humans. So they experience those things. We need to experience those things, both good and bad. You have to learn to understand those. I think the reason we come here is because the only way to truly understand them is to live them, to experience them. When you do that, you choose that lifetime for those specific reasons. Even in the case of the girl in the carriage, he talks about and asks the person, was it predestined that would happen? The answer was no. They could have chosen not to fall out of the carriage. They could have made a split decision to not go through with that. And when I say they, we're talking the super soul, the oversoul, the soul that is not always in charge during the day while we're awake. Sometimes those are split decisions you make that you don't think about. You react on instinct almost. You can think of that as what I'm talking about here. Their instinct could have easily said nope, but they went through with that lifetime, learned that painful lesson, and learned how it was okay to become dependent and have people help you. You don't have to be independent all the time. You don't have to be on your own all the time. You can depend on people you love, and they can depend on you. And that was a lesson they set out to learn in that lifetime. Could they have done something different? Absolutely. Free will. Her family could have decided not to take care of her. That was in a soul contract. Agreements with people in their soul group and related soul groups would help take care of her. But they could have changed their minds. Free will again. If you start thinking about 10 lifetimes that are all related and you have all these people, they have all these decisions and key points in their lives, and 10 guides and 10 senior guides, and all of the people they interact with, it can become mind-bending to think about how many permutations of things there are. And so you can start to understand why life on Earth is so hard, why it's chaotic. That should show you the importance of guides. Again, they're not guardian angels, but they can help steer us. One of the key ways that they communicate with us as humans, because we are not terribly telepathic, they can try to project images to our minds. Best comes to you when you're asleep or meditating. One of the main things that meditating does is help clear your mind and help you become that antenna, take input from your guide. You can tap into what people call the Akashic record, which is the universal wisdom or the wisdom of the creator. You're shutting down what I call the monkey brain. Anybody who's sat down for 10 seconds and tried to clear their mind understands to turn that off, you have to practice meditation. That's why it's a practice. So you calm the monkey brain and let your meditation become the foreground. Then you open yourself up to signs from your guide and the universe. The other thing your guide can do is send you signs in dreams. We often have a prophetic dream or a dream that makes us think differently about something. At least I know I have. You may have a dream that makes you think differently about a particular person. I remember being back in school, and one night I had a dream about a girl I hadn't really thought about much. Thoughts about her changed. And that can happen in a dream. I think part of that is because you're being guided. Dreams can help to guide you. Remember, time doesn't exist for your guide. They're not going to watch every human thing you do. They are there. So if you reach out to them, they can answer you. Maybe if you're a medium, but not all of us are an antenna like that. You have to work at it sometimes and ask them to help you figure that out. I like to think about almost doing mini meditations. Once you learn to meditate and calm your mind, you can think about something for 30 seconds out of a day. Let's say that there's a problem you're trying to solve or a decision you're trying to make. Do I really like this person? Should I keep dating them? My job, I hate my job. Should I leave my job? What should I be doing with my life? These big life plans are the things your guide can help you with. Just put it out there for 30 seconds or a minute out of the day. Take a pause while you're driving. While you have 30 seconds, if you have a problem you're trying to work on, just try to pop it into your mind. You don't even have to do anything with it. Just say, my guide, my angel, I really am trying to figure out what to do with this situation. And here's the choices. Maybe I'm not seeing another choice. Help me find this out. Your guide won't interfere unless you've prearranged it as a signal or sign, or you ask. Your guide's not going to interfere and tamper with your life. If you never reach out to your guide, their job's going to be pretty easy. Their job is not to keep you alive. Life and death are all part of this play, this video game that is life on Earth. Our souls go on, just like a video game. It's more dramatic and painful and joyful than a video game. There's much more to life than actually being a video game. But if you think about it like that, at least for me, that helps me frame things in context and remember that, oh, well, how can God let this many people die? Well, they're not dead. Their bodies are gone. And yes, we mourn. And yes, we're miserable. And we learn from that. But they're still there. They're going to go on with their next life. They're in the afterlife or the spirit world. So always think about it like that. When you're gone, people will mourn you, hopefully, and miss you, and you'll miss them. Your guide's job is not to keep you alive. Your guide's job is to help you in whatever way makes the most sense. And remember, they have discretion. They might decide that not helping you is the best help for you. They might let you try to figure things out for yourself and wait until you've exhausted all of your options. Need help. They have the context of your past lives. I like to use this as an example because I've seen it with Michael Newton and Dolores Cannon. If you're attracted to power over people, you might be put in that position again or work your way into it even if that wasn't part of your life plan. Keep in mind that you might say, help me win this election or help me overcome this person so that I can be the boss. Maybe they're not going to, because that wasn't your plan to begin with. What you think you want materially is not necessarily what you had planned, and not necessarily for the best good for you. You'll hear people talk about your greater good might not be what you think it is. You might think you want this flippin' amazing job that makes lots of money, but maybe that wasn't actually what you wanted in this lifetime. You can call an audible and change it, but your guide isn't necessarily going to help you if that wasn't the path you set out for. You might find the opposite. Good examples of that are sometimes you'll get sick and it takes you away from this fantastic, amazing job with making lots of money because that wasn't what you were supposed to do with your life. You may have agreed to that before you even came here as a fail-safe plan. If I get taken in by the glitter of money and fame and that isn't what I want to do, then I want you to detour me. And maybe that's the way they detour you. People have talked about that in their lives. Hypnotherapy, they have seen the context. Why did I get sick 10 years ago or 20 years ago and my life completely fell apart and changed? Sometimes that's because your life has to fall apart before you can put it back together the way you, your soul, your greater you wanted to and experience on this planet. So ask yourself, what lessons did you set out for yourself? If you've had hurdles put into your life, if things seem good or bad, think about maybe that was supposed to happen. How did I react? Such and such an event happened and I decided to do this. I could have decided to do that. Maybe that was the path I should have gone because things haven't gone so well the way I went. Remember that you're here to learn and grow, and your guide's job is to help you do that, not make your life easy, not give you lots of money and people and lovers. Your guide's not a genie. It's important to keep that in mind. Remember, you're a greater good, not what you want. You might feel dissatisfied. That's probably your gut feeling telling you you picked the wrong path. Maybe your path was supposed to be riches and you went down the drugs path or some other self-detrimental path. Your soul and your guide might be whispering in your ear, telling you that isn't what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be going over here and maybe helping people. In doing so, the universe provides for you because you're helping others. It's immensely complicated to try and wrap your head around somebody else's life, let alone your own. I would say don't try to take that on all at once. Think about the little things. If you're struggling with a decision, ask your guide for help. Feel free to speak out loud. Guide, how about you tell me in a dream what your name is? What should I call you? Maybe I'll just let a name pop into my head. And that's what I'm going to call you. I don't believe they care. If they really do care, they'll probably whisper in your ear and plant that seed. Just call them guide. My guide, I'm struggling, or I'm really trying to figure out the right decision and where I should be. My life is not what I think it should be. Ask for help. Reach out to loved ones, people you trust, spiritual people. Maybe they can help give you some guidance on how to make that contact, or maybe your guide will put them in your life for a certain reason. I'll finish with a story here, but let me just say that I hope you have gotten some useful information. If you have, remember to give us a like. Hopefully, if you enjoy the channel, give us a subscribe and do the bell thing and come back for more videos. I will definitely be making more videos. I hope you can tell from my passion and excitement that there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot of stuff I've learned that so many other people have done the work to bring out, and I'm just trying to make it available for everybody here. I'm not doing any groundbreaking research. I'm just gathering information and trying to package it and share it back in a way and on a platform that makes it easy for people to access. So give us a like, subscribe. I'll just wrap up by saying that I had one time where I would swear that a guide made a change in my life. It's still an interesting story. In my earlier years, I was struggling with depression. I had tried several different antidepressants with very little luck. Prozac was one of them, and had the typical negative reactions to Prozac and a couple others. I had a conversation with my uncle. He told me, try this drug. It worked really well for me. You should talk to your doctor and see if it works for you. So I did. Next doctor appointment, I got a hold of my doctor and we tried that drug, and it was like somebody turned the lights on. It wasn't a miracle. It was medicine. Even though I wanted the other drugs to work for me, they didn't. So I don't think it was placebo, but it made a world of difference for me. I later spoke to my uncle before he passed. He got ALS and passed, sadly. But before he did, I was able to have a conversation with him. He swears never happened. Not the conversation, but he never had Wellbutrin. He had never taken it, didn't know anything about it. But that's what happened on that phone call. Whether that was my guide talking through him, planning that for a split second, kind of talking through his voice, through his mind, whatever. I don't know if guides can do that. But somehow that message made a huge difference in my life. A simple conversation. I talk to my uncle on a regular basis. We're pretty close and used to talk about metaphysical things. He's part of the reason I eventually went on my spiritual journey, even though it took me many years to start that. A very small thing. And yet it made this world of difference to me. So I truly believe that that was a guide doing their thing. That's exactly the kind of thing they probably do. He could have not said it. He could have said it and I could have just gone, whatever. Or I don't want to take any drugs. But that isn't what happened. That little subtle influence, that's the wind in the sails that sometimes your guide will do for you. Be open to it, especially if you're struggling. If your life is great, maybe just meditate and tell the universe how grateful you are. Be grateful for what you have and the people you have and the love you have. And if you're struggling, reach out. Know that there are people out here who love you. I give you my love. I give you my energy. And I truly mean that. There are no souls on this planet that are demons. We're all just souls. We're all part of the Creator. We're all that spark of the Creator. Each one of us, whether we choose to walk in the darkness or walk in the light, is exactly that. It's our choice. You make that choice every day. You decide, do I want to walk in the light? Do I want to walk in the dark? Or do I just want to sit here on my couch? We have so many choices. They're all ours to make. You decide every day. You decide what kind of mood you're going to have. You decide how you're going to treat other people. You're going to be kind regardless of how they treat you. Those are all things you can decide. You have the power to decide. Starting today, starting right now, you're still here. You're still breathing air. You still have a body. You still have a vessel. Your soul is still in there. While you still have the time here, take advantage of it in this 3D world. It's an amazing world. We've been given this gift and given the gift of life on this world. We've chosen to come here. Remember that. You've chosen to come here. Now, maybe things haven't gone quite your way so far. Guides are wonderful. Ask someone to help you figure it out. People are here to help. There are many people who are walking in the light, helping others. Keep searching. Keep your heart open. The world is very tough, especially right now. There's a lot of negative energy. Ask for help. Vent to somebody. But always try to come back to the light. You'll be much happier if you do. I love you. Thank you for listening. Come back. Leave some comments if you have some topics that you'd like me to cover. I'd be happy to. If you want to do a deep dive on some topic or you have any questions, please feel free to leave comments. I will try to read them all and answer them. And I hope to see you back here again. Thank you.